to, well, remind you people of why I don't live in Louisiana. As a native of Louisiana, my parents are still there, God bless them. But when I was in high school, I suffered through the David Duke, Edwin Edwards race. And my Republican parents were forced to put a bumper sticker on the back of their car that said, "Vote for the crook, it's important." And we successfully defeated the Klansmen. To this day, the Democrats like to say he's a Republican, and he's not. He's just a moron. Edwin Edwards eventually went off to federal prison. And you know how it's difficult for felons to vote once they get out of jail, but apparently not that difficult to get their name on a ballot in Louisiana. So Edwin Edwards is in his 80s and has a fairly newborn child. And has decided, I guess, you know, he's an old man now and he needs some good sleep at night, so he wants to get up to Washington so he doesn't have to wake up in the middle of the night for changing diapers. So Edwin Edwards wants to go back to Washington. And because of name ID, he's ahead in the polls. In Louisiana, for those of you who don't know, the primary is the general election, and the top two vote getters then go into a runoff. So you have this massive election on election day in November, and the top two people then go into a runoff unless the top person gets over 50%. They used to do it before November and then have election day on November, but the Fed said election day is supposed to be on November, so you got to do it in November. So there is one person, and only one, who stands a chance of beating Edwin Edwards and letting him stay home and enjoy the company of his wife and newborn. For family values, we should help defeat Edwin Edwards so he can bond with his children. The guy's name, and he's a young guy, he could be in Congress. He could make a difference. He's got the energy that Edwin Edwards doesn't have even, on little blue pills. I want you guys, and he knows my preacher too, so I have to be nice to Paul. Paul Dietzel, everyone, is running against Edwin Edwards. He's RedState's pick for this district. Please join me in welcoming him and hear from Paul.
Well, thanks, Eric. And I'm glad he mentioned Louisiana because I'm glad he mentioned his parents because interestingly, his parents live literally right across the street from where my district ends. So his parents can't vote for me. I saw them last year in New Orleans, which was great. But it's really an honor to be here at RedState. I've long admired the work of RedState and also benefit from its policy research. Brian Pruitt over here, thank you and thank Eric for letting me come and join you guys. It's really just a great opportunity to be here. Also, one other person I wanted to mention is Brad Jackson. I didn't see him though, but I wanted to thank him for the Coffee and Markets podcast that I enjoy. The United States of America, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nearly 250 years ago, our country's forefathers laid the foundation for one of the greatest accomplishments in history. The American Revolution is really the only successful revolution of its kind in history. And it's resulted in 2 centuries of freedom and prosperity. The French Revolution, on the other hand, ended in bloodshed, in a decade of wars that resulted in at least 3 million people dead. The Russian Revolution switched from one dictator to another. And as we're finding out, Russia is still a despotism. They don't have any rights and no justice. Only in America was the preservation of individual freedom the goal of politics. The government wasn't designed to be a part of every aspect of our lives. Under the American vision, you were to be able to make your life, you were able to create your own life how you wanted it to be yourself, to think your own thoughts, own your own property, without the fear of being imprisoned or robbed. But why does American history matter to all of us here at RedState in 2014? Because this president has so fundamentally changed the scope and power of the American presidency that our founding fathers wouldn't even recognize it today. My name is Paul Dietzel, as Eric mentioned, and I'm a technology entrepreneur. I'm the founder of Antidote, a software company that's used by thousands around the country every day. And you know what? We're successful not because of the government, but in spite of the government. As I go door to door and listen to the people in my district, it's become very clear to me that middle-class Americans they're struggling with the burden of increasing taxes and the onslaught of price hikes and government mandates. There's a real uncertainty in our country. Unemployment, when you really look at the numbers, not these ones that the president says on TV. When you really look at the numbers, unemployment stands at an all-time high. And it's been this way for so long that many are now saying this is the new normal in our country. People tell me every day that they worry about the future for their children, for their grandchildren, about how difficult it is to raise a family today. And they worry about, and others worry, they're nervous about starting a family in today's economy. You know, it's expensive. You got diapers, doctor's visits, childcare, food, clothes, maybe college. There's always been a belief that America's tomorrow would be better than today. And I truly believe that our tomorrow can be better than today. But it's not going to come from using the same old political tactics and sending the same old type of people up to Washington. You might have noticed, and as Eric kind of pointed out in his intro, I'm not the same old type of people we've been sending to Washington. It might surprise you, but I actually worked in the entertainment industry and also have now worked in the technology industry. And you know, it's funny. Some people actually will tell me, they say, well, you don't have enough experience to go serve in the Congress. Amen. And you know, it's interesting. I don't have any government experience. But I don't. But I have certainly experienced the government. Throughout my life, I've had the privilege to work with some amazing people and build technology that helps thousands around the country. I've learned a little bit about the power of the federal government, and it really amazes me that unelected bureaucrats have the power to destroy American dreams. I've learned that the true merit of a nation is not merely found in the sheer number of laws and regulations that seek to block liberty. Rather, it's the freedom of thought and the power to pursue our dreams as we harness the technologies of our time to take us places we've never gone before. The greatest pursuits and accomplishments of the American Republic come when ordinary men and women overcome adversity and move forward regardless of opposition. This is the genius of our country. We're not merely permitted to succeed, we're free to do so. Government is increasingly populated by specialists who have no real-world experience. Washington is a city of no consequences, as you know. Where else but Washington would a person like Lois Lerner, a bureaucrat's bureaucrat, still be free and not indicted for actions such as those she allegedly perpetrated? Where else but Washington would a bureaucrat have the audacity to tell Congress that emails were lost because of a hard drive malfunction? Just what do you think would happen if each one of you used that excuse with the IRS during an audit? Listen, I know something about cyber systems and the links that companies take to go to protect data. And I simply don't believe that they're telling the truth. Because, quite honestly, what they're saying doesn't line up with industry standards and protocols for information technology at all. And if they are telling the truth, then we have got to hold the government accountable to the same standards that we are held to every day. If politicians on both sides of the aisle had even read some of the laws that they've passed, Obamacare, Dodd-Frank, we wouldn't have a lot of the problems that we have today. But they didn't, and that's the problem. Bureaucrats and federal agencies write thousands of pages of rules that unconstitutionally usurp the power and authority of Congress. And too many members of Congress just sit there and let them do it. Our country cannot survive by making its innovators slaves to its bureaucrats. We don't need better bureaucrats or more career politicians in Congress. We need innovators and small business owners and people that'll bring common sense solutions to a corrupt political system. We don't need those who better understand how to game the system. We need those who will change the game. Because real solutions to our problems, they're not going to come from those who helped create the problems in the first place. We need people with private sector experience to solve public sector problems. Because you know what? The public sector has forgotten that it serves we the people, not the other way around. Government is now in the middle of every financial transaction, shopping, purchase, and business deal. It runs our banks, our schools, and even's trying to run our churches. It monitors our phone calls, reads our emails, confiscates our guns. Now, when you talk like this, you're immediately counseled by the political class. Whoa, step back, watch yourself. Bleat like all the other sheep before you're led to the butcher block. Am I right? But it's not enough, however, just to talk about the problem. We must have solutions. And getting to those solutions means running right into the wall of political patronage in both parties. It just seems to me that life in America today exists at a dangerous level. It always feels like the meeting of two wolves and one sheep as they're deciding on what to have for dinner. And friends, we all know that outcome. The sad part is that the government takes so much money from middle-class families only to redistribute that money to institutions and individuals in thousands of entitlements, grants, and other programs that continually fail to solve the real problems in our country. In fact, the government programs are the problem. It isn't that it's hard to do, it's that we have people that aren't willing to go out on a limb and make the difficult decisions that are needed for our country. I mean, look, have you tried to follow the dollar as it passes through the federal bureaucracy? It's not easy to do. It's not designed to be easy to track or to follow that through, because the more complicated that it remains, the more that the bureaucrats can game the system to protect their gains. Of course, it doesn't matter if millions or thousands of Americans are losing their jobs, as long as all the bureaucrats keep theirs, right? Friends, enough is enough. Today, too many people seek to take away our liberty and defraud us of our God-given rights. And like the original signers of the Declaration of Independence, we need a new guard to protect our future. A new guard that stands against the government status quo that makes bureaucrats tyrants and citizens serfs. A new guard not of the political elite, a new guard of everyday working men and women who will stand up and fight for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We know the problem and the effects of the problem. The real question, can it change? Change isn't going to come just because we want it to come. We must work together to make it a reality. Make no mistake, union does not equal unity. You can tie two cats' tails together, hang them over a clothesline. You're going to have union, but you might not have unity. But what I really want to see, especially from those in my generation, is a unity based on the foundation and principles of limited government, of personal responsibility, of hard work, and a commitment to the restoration of the American vision. And I really believe that we can. We all too often forget that we are a nation whose Constitution is not only the oldest, but the shortest written constitution of any major government in history. Where the oldest signer of our Constitution was 81. And you know what? The youngest was 26. Whose greatest generation bravely ended world wars, destroyed fascism and the rise of communism. We created the space shuttle, put the first man on the moon, launched the space observatory and the lunar module. Our hackers gave the world Facebook. I'm sure some of you are on there right now. Our innovators gave the world Apple. Our problem solvers gave some of you a ride maybe in Dallas or Fort Worth and called it Uber. Cell phones, we created those. Personal computers, that was us. The airplane, American. Air conditioning, I know we're all thankful for that, American. Email, the internet, well, thanks to Al Gore. No, it was America. And that is the America that we must resolve to retake, to preserve, to protect, to defend. And that is the America that I am fighting for. That is why I'm running for Congress. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I need your help. Because I can't do it by myself. You can't do it by yourself. Eric can't do it by himself. We have to work together. And that's how we're going to get our country back. So I appreciate you guys. I'll entertain a few questions. I'm 28 years old. I'm legally constitutional, or constitutionally legal. Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting. There's actually 3 millennials right now that have a great chance of winning seats for Congress. You've got Elise Stefanich up in New York. You've got Marlinda Garcia, and then you've got myself. So 31, 29, and 28. So does anybody have any questions? I'd like to entertain any questions before I head out. I got to go speak to a group of young Republicans actually over in Dallas tonight. So they got about 100 people over there waiting to bring down the house. So really interesting too is that, you know, I'm 28 and a lot of people are like, man, 28, wow, you're young. But interestingly enough, you know, I went to 17 states in 7 days last year, kind of on a, Take Back America tour, personal. And I went to different college campuses and I met with different people. And you know what? The young people in our country aren't buying all this liberal stuff. They really aren't. They're not. The news media is what keeps telling us that that's what's the truth. It's not. The young people don't want that. The young people want government to get out of the way so that we can let the private sector do what the private sector does. Question? Yeah, so in Louisiana, I'm sure you've heard of the Duck Dynasty district up in North Louisiana. I'm actually the LSU district. You've got the New Orleans Saints district, but I'm in the LSU district essentially. So it's Baton Rouge, and we've got 13 parishes. No, we don't have counties, we have parishes. So down in southern Louisiana. Question over here for the microphone.
Could you tell us how your campaign is going? And is he negative against you, or is it a rather positive campaign on your part?
Well, nobody's really, he hasn't really gone on TV or done anything like that because his name ID is so high. He's not going to have to really go negative. Now, come the runoff in December, we'll see what happens. But right now, the campaign's going great. I started the campaign last April, so I've been going for about, 16, 17 months now. Exciting thing is that we actually, last semester, we had 50 interns from college. 50. But wait for it. In the fall, we're going to have 200 interns for one campaign in Congress. So I'm tired of everybody saying that only the Democrats can motivate the young people. We got 200 young people working for us. And you know what? Those young people, those college students and high school students and different people, we've already made over 120,000 household contacts. And that's not robocalls. That's just phone to ear. Hello, this is Paul with the Paul Dietzel campaign. I'm calling to tell you about Paul Dietzel. So it's really exciting. We're really excited about where we are. We're really happy with the progress of our team. We've got a great staff behind us, and we're really looking forward to winning and to bringing some private sector experience up there from the next generation. He asked if I wanted to have any questions.
You were here last year. You know the routine. So, okay. So have they asked you about your last name? Because I've been asked about your last name.
Okay, so last name Dietzel, first name Paul. The second is the suffix, and it is my grandfather that coached football back before Eric and I were born.
Yes. Good.
Somebody actually asked me outside in the hall.
Right.
Any other questions? Yes, so right now the only people in the poll that are double digits are myself and Edwin Edwards. You've got a handful of people that are at 1% and 2%, 3%, but we're the only two people in double digit numbers, so we're really excited about that, and we're really working hard because we've got about 80 days left, and we've just got to make sure we go in strong into that runoff. So. We're not really sure because of the Senate race in Louisiana, where you have, we're trying to get Mary Lander out of office. That is taken up. I know that they've already confirmed 4 debates for the Senate race. So I think that's going to kind of flood the media markets. So the congressional race kind of takes the back seat. But you can rest assured that I'm not getting in the back seat. So we're going to be running hard. Yes, sir.
As I can tell, is Livingston Parish part of that area that you've got Denham Springs, Walker out through that area? Is that part of the voting area?
Yes, sir, it is. Livingston Parish is.
And have you had a chance to talk to any of the folks that are out in Livingston Parish, any of as used to be the sheriff out there, any of those folks?
Yes, sir. Interesting story. So everybody in Louisiana recognizes my dad's side of the family.
Right.
My mom's side of the family is Dubois.
Okay.
Which is very French,
right.
And very Louisiana. So her family's actually dates back in Livingston and Ascension Parish, the two kind of larger areas of the district, back to 1775.
Okay.
So one of my interns, actually from Dallas, right up the road, said, "Well, man, how do you have so many yard signs out in Livingston?"
Okay.
And I said, "Well, it helps if you got a family member every 3 houses."
Good, because I was going to say I've got family both in those areas, also over in Port Allen and up in Zachary, and I just want to make sure if that's something
Yes.
that would aid, then I want to make
Absolutely.
sure.
They can definitely help.
Thanks.
I appreciate it. All of you can definitely help as well. So we appreciate it.